Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem. Hope everyone is having a great week. Again, we'd like to thank you for joining us here at Business Influencers. We've now been with the Touch of Life Foundation, TALRadio now for well over 2 years. And again, the show continues to grow each and every month. Thanks to you, the listeners. We highly encourage you to share this show with your peers, colleagues, and others that will help them to really tap into the subject matter experts that we bring in each and every week, sharing their words of insight, experiences that can help take your business and level of influence to the next level. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types, an opportunity to rekindle old relationships or perhaps meet new people for the first time. This is a membership program, meaning that it takes all the noise out of social media, allowing you to come in on your time to generate genuine and authentic relationships with people that you have known in the past or meeting new people for the first time. Perhaps you might land your next new business opportunity or next job through Alumni Direct. Check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about digital transformation dilemmas, the Checkout Odyssey. And this is going to be a topic that we have not covered here on Business Influencers, and you are in for a treat because you're going to get a lot of great information. We are here with Jorge Castellote, and he's an influential, experienced keynote speaker specializing in innovation and business transformation. With a successful global and multi-sector track record, Jorge has been invited as a keynote speaker for over 100 events, sharing best practices in strategy and innovation management. His presentations consistently receive high scores in engagement. He has spoken to Fortune 500 companies and is an adjunct professor in disruptive innovation at the Heriot-Watt University campus in Dubai. He is also the founder and managing partner of Innoway, a boutique consulting firm focused on helping organizations develop solutions fast, like startups. He coaches startups and entrepreneurs, design thinking and agile principles in to bring their products to market fast. A citizen of the world, proudly Spaniard, living in 3 continents and 7 countries. He is married with 2 daughters and currently lives in Florida. And without further ado, we welcome Jorge to the show. Jorge, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
You're so pleasure to have you here. You know, let's talk a little bit about, I know that you recently posted some content around this particular topic. You're going to talk today about digital transformation dilemmas and how this applies to the, checkout, self-checkout. Can you talk a little bit about the background, maybe about checkout in general? And then we could maybe, talk a little bit about what you're finding in terms of some of these dilemmas when it comes to digital transformation in this segment.
Well, definitely, Chris. So this dilemma, I faced it the other day, but I think it's going to resonate with many people in other areas of their life and in their job, basically. So we were in a conference and we were going for lunch. And as we approached the store, we realized that there was a big lane, big people queuing up. And we started wondering why. The reason was pretty much that recently they have upgraded, and I say that in quotes, the process for ordering. And now it was a self-checking online, which is the client or the customer will choose whatever they want and they will pay without any help from any human interaction, let's call it that way, or any human from the store. The reality was that even though the self-checkout was meant to be done by the customer, the system was so difficult to operate that the person who was actually working in the store was helping each one of us to decide what to eat and how to operate the machine, defeating the purpose. And I think I've seen in my career the misinterpretation of digital transformation equals technology upgrade.
Wow. if you could share a little bit about, what are some of the things that, overall, like in this space with retail, like in, with what are some things that have been working well here, what haven't, and with what you shared, what could be better in terms of this transformation?
So there are different angles to that. What what I encounter when I encounter these challenges in companies, I I always think about why the decision was made that way, and it's probably there's good intention in it. There's always an intention of being better, on making more the process to work better, or to operationalize it, whatever the word is. And that decision might come from maybe the technology department.
Mm.
And as good as the intention is, the idea is to start with the customer, or with the consumer, and see what are their needs, or what is the customer experience, as we define it nowadays. Understand what are the steps and the information needed for the consumer to make the right decisions, and based on that, we can work on the technology behind.
Mm.
And when I see these things, is I can see that the assumption behind was, if we improve the technology, we will have a faster, cheaper, better service, without or overlooking the consumer response or the consumer needs.
Mm. Like that. Love, great explanation. And you might have already touched on this, which when you talked about earlier about, the what, digital transformation dilemmas are when it comes to self checkout. But how can businesses, I guess, what, regardless of size, how can they strike a balance between embracing this transformation, this digital transformation, ensuring that they're having this experience? I know you kind of talked, but if you could talk a little bit about the balance a little there.
Well, I think the first one, which could be a little bit counterintuitive, is that technology is not the solution for everything.
That's a great point. Like a lot of times, would it be safe to say that we can't depend on technology, but it's a tool. It's a tool that can help us grow and move forward, but we can't be just dependent on it.
That's a good point, is understanding that technology can help you, and when and how to use it is the important part that lies behind that. I would say the second advice would be, let's understand from the consumer or the customer or the user point of view, what are the needs that they have, what is the job to be done. And based on the job to be done, we can start designing backwards. That's what, for example, Amazon does. Is very famous for saying, start with the customer and work backwards. And the understanding of that is precisely that. If you know well what the customer's intention, his jobs to be done behind every single action, the next thing, which is designing the solution, comes much easier, and will be more adapted to the customer needs.
Mm.
I know it's difficult, and that's why we have a job, because that's the kind of the bridge that we help organizations to follow. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is that sometimes, or most of the times, you don't need to change everything about the technology. And other times,
Yeah, I love that point. Like, it doesn't have to always be. I like. Can you expand it? I like that.
sometimes we think of that the engine or the software behind is what is the limiting factor, when in reality is sometimes the customer experience. And we tend to think that the more the better, whereas most of the times, if we reduce the selections according to the customer needs, we don't need to change the engine. We have enough capacity internally, because we are making things easier for the customer.
Mm.
There's another thing that it's difficult also to understand in a digital transformation, which is taking the opportunity to revisit the process that you have to fulfill a need or to make a job to be done for the consumer or the customer. What do I mean by that? Every single process, especially if you're in an established company that has been running for some time, have been defined with the limiting factor of the technology of the time. So maybe you're in a bank, and back in the days, either through regulation or because of the technology, you need a stamp from the consumer or a signature from the customer. Take the opportunity of the digital transformation to revisit that process and say, do I really need a signature, or why do I need a signature? Is this signature because I need the customer to agree on this, and this was the only way that I could do it back in the days? How can I do it now? As opposed to just copy and paste let's say, the legacy process into your new technology without thinking or challenging those key points in your process.
Wow. I love that answer. And such great information that those are listening. If this applies to you in your business, this is some great information. And I know when Jorge shares his contact information here later in the show, perhaps he could share some additional content that can help you. And I definitely highly encourage everyone to reach out to him, because this is such an interesting area in terms of content in this particular area. Reflecting on experiences, Jorge, how often do businesses overlook the importance of thoroughly testing these new technologies before implementation?
That's a very interesting answer. And I think it goes back to how humans are wired. We have certain biases and already built in. And that has worked for a long time. Now, those biases and assumptions, those are the things that make us take decisions fast when there was a danger. So we were in danger, and these things we have then built in and allowed us to make good decisions fast. Now we live in a different world. So, but we still have that, let's say, that hardware. So in order to counteract our fast decisions, we need to test this. And it's very difficult to implement this mindset into companies, because we all come with our biases, and we think that the solution ends when we have the solution design. I can share many experiences on this fact that you should test it, but I'm going to give you a very simple one. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, before the QR code was something that everybody was familiar with.
Nobody ever, and people didn't realize the QR code would really be bigger than it was, but it really did, and it came back again.
And that's exactly the point. And I think the whole pandemic helped us to adopt that technology. So this is pre-pandemic. The QR code is nowhere where it is now, and we were trying to use it for people to adopt to some marketing activities. And because this company was introducing the concept of testing, we said, let's test if the QR code is something that everybody can be adopted. So we put together a test, and the test was pretty much to take a picture, and while you take the picture, there's time enough for the QR code to be read by the phone, and we'll open the website. It turned out that for some reason people didn't click on it. It was not working. So we go back with the results of I believe it was 80% of the people who were testing this were not actually clicking on the website. Now, because this was a headquarters directive and they wanted to implement this technology across the organization, they said, you're doing it wrong. How about if you put like a message, and by the time they're reading the message, it's going to be enough time for the phone to get that, and they will go to the website. So we tested again, and we got the same results, and we concluded straight away that it was not the time for QR code. So it's funny how if we would have followed the non-testing approach, the company would have adopted that across all the different campaigns, and maybe the campaign was not successful, and they would still thinking about, no, the message is not correct, or the platform that we're using, or the colors, or the buttons, without even considering that it's actually the technology that you're implementing that is not yet ready in the market.
Wow, great insights. Can you share some maybe specific examples where businesses have successfully navigated these challenges in digital transformation, in the checkout process? If you want to share some insights on example, it doesn't have to be particular companies, but maybe just areas. It's up to you.
I mean, no secret, but the big ones, McDonald's, Burger King, they have nailed it. And there's so many simple things that are easy to understand and to observe. The idea of big buttons, bundled options, having the process clear, where you have like this top bar that says where you are in the process, how much is your the basket, what is missing, what are the add-ons. I mean, it's not difficult to. I'm saying it's not. It's if you are in a position that you don't know what to do, the best starting point is to copy the best. And we have McDonald's that they have a very clear, simple, and I would say successful solution.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And so one of the things, like what I would like to ask is, with this, what do you think some companies can learn from these challenges? Like, measuring to see what works, what can't. If you could share some insights there, and so that way they can avoid falling into the trap of perceiving, every upgrade as a true innovation, so to speak. Just like we talked about the QR code thing.
I think it goes down to the fundamentals of we don't know what we don't know, and operate with that constantly. And the way you reduce the risks of developing a solution that is not gonna solve your problem is by starting small and getting a lot of options. So pretty much following the lean startup, the design thinking approach, the agile approach, all these methodologies, and they have very similar principles, which is because we don't know what we don't know, we're gonna test. And the first thing that you need to understand is the problem. Once you understand that there's a problem worth solving, then you start designing the solution. And you can start very small. You can start with prototyping. You can, if you're not sure, you can have 2 or 3 different solutions. You can start testing which one is more successful. What is the feedback that you get from your customers? And when you have evidence that works for the majority of the people, the famous 80-20 rule, you can scale it. I would recommend strongly companies to avoid the classic decision of from a PowerPoint to execution of $10 billion. There is a lot of things that you can do in between that will reach, that by the time you reach that multi-billion investment, you are in a better position in terms of the risk or the confidence level of that solution to work.
Wow, powerful. Now, if you were like now, based upon what you shared, like looking ahead, what strategies can these businesses adopt to avoid being caught in the constant loop of these technology upgrades? Where do you see it going forward,
I,
from here?
I would say they should allow themselves to fail. And it's very easy to say, but very difficult to implement. But pretty much, there's a concept that has been around for a long time is the sandbox, allowing the organization to have that safe space where people can test things and fail
Mm,
without breaking anything, without breaking the brand, without breaking the products, without breaking the customers, without breaking anything. And whatever works, there are many ways to scale it. So that's what I would recommend. Give permission to every organization to fail in a safe space, and whatever works, making sure that you can scale it.
wow, that's some great advice, and so on. In terms of, I mean, in this particular area of digital transformation, I mean, just in general, I mean, do you see that, that I like the approach of that, giving them a safe space to kind of like, fail, like, either not to fail, but to learn from what works, what doesn't, to move forward. What other resources do you see here that could be quite helpful? Like, you are a resource, obviously, and this is what you do. Any, but in terms of anything else, like, what do you feel are the best resources that can help people, see how, how they can adapt and grow? Is it just reading articles? Is it attending conferences, trade shows in this particular area? What do you feel would be, good source of information?
Well, I mean, the first point, like anything in life, is awareness. So as you said, it's good to get educated on this topic, and it can go all the way from events, conferences, reading books, attending any other kind of events, even in the startup world. I would also consider, and this is more for the leadership team, to get exposed to other particular areas where companies are actually testing many things and allowing themselves to fail. And because you need to start bringing that mindset into the company. You should have the CEOs of the world that are aware that there's companies that are doing a lot of things by testing and by failing. So
Mm,
once you have that mindset in the company, you can put the necessary mechanisms. We call it the innovation ecosystem, but you need to start with the top, from the top.
yeah.
The top needs to be convinced that there's different ways to test this, and it's a need for that, because it will allow the company to be sustainable in the long term. Imagine if you, in the span of 1 year, you are able to test, instead of 10 products, once per month, more or less, to test 4 per month.
Mm,
Which company is more future ready? The one that tests 10 or the one that is testing 40?
yeah.
So that is the mindset, and then the mechanisms can be put together. You can start small. Again, think of it as select 3 4 teams that they are willing to test new things, and allow them to fail. Put them the right sandbox, put them the right resources, allowing them to test with your company, or maybe with a parallel name. There are ways of doing that, but the most important part is having that leadership endorsement to operate.
Wow. Great information. And I know you got so much more to share on this topic. And definitely we want to have this on a future show to elaborate with what you shared here. I know we got only less than a half an hour for this particular show, but Jorge, I know that there are a lot of people that could be watching this that could be saying, "Hey, this is something that I'm looking to find out more information." I know you're going to be speaking out there at some leading industry conferences around this particular area, including other things that you do. around the agility side and, bringing new ideas and strategies for products to come to market, startups and the like, and so on. What is the best way people can get to know you and stuff, anything about Innoway that you can share with them here?
Well, I'm always on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is the way to go. But you can also find me on Twitter and on our website, which is innoway.me. My LinkedIn is Jorge Castellote, if you can follow that name. But yeah, I would say Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website. And if not, you can always send me an email.
Great. Well, we highly encourage everybody to reach out to Jorge. He is a wealth of information in this particular area, especially when it comes to new product ideas, bringing things to market, and of course, in this area now of digital transformation, these dilemmas that we can learn from. We can learn from when it comes to the checkout area of business. Jorge, thank you so much for your time today, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing subject matter experts like Jorge in to share their words of wisdom and insights to help take your business and level of influence to the next area. If you have any questions as to the show, feel free to reach out to Jorge direct, or you can reach out to me. I'll make sure that he gets the message. And we welcome any new insights to content that you would like to hear here on Business Influencers. Since we are a weekly show, feel free to reach out to us at Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. That's Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.